Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, I have a very special guest with me as I'm talking to current Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Connor Bazelak. Connor, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, doing great. Down here in Tampa, it's definitely a lot warmer than up in Ohio, so getting used to the heat. But everything's great.
Literally today, the past few days, it's been disgustingly hot. I mean, it has been insane. So how have you been adjusting to the heat so far?
It's been good. I think it's just like adjusting to anything. You just once you keep doing it, once you are in it enough, you get used to it. And I like throwing in the heat, so it's a positive.
You,
Definitely better than 20 degrees up in Bowling Green, blowing wind and
that's what everybody says, man. It's always easier to adjust to the heat than the cold. So
yep, yep, no doubt.
right on. Well, Connor, I want to go ahead and start off our conversation with this. So, just kind of taking a look back, high school, going into college, and things like that. You came out of high school, you were the number 10 quarterback in the nation, according to ESPN. So, firstly, congrats on that. That's an awesome accomplishment. Now, you had interviews from just about, or offers, I should say, from just about everywhere. I'm talking about Georgia, Kentucky, Indiana. We'll get to them in a little bit. Um, but you decided on Missouri. What made you
Yep.
decide on Missouri during that time? Because, and I just wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on this. So, I know, like, on certain websites, they have like recruiting profiles and stuff like that. And a lot of people were actually projecting you to go to Kentucky at that time. So, what made you decide on Missouri when everybody else was saying Kentucky?
Yeah, so Kentucky was actually my first offer. I think going into my junior year, um, I my high school I played in a wishbone offense, so I wasn't able to throw the ball much during games, maybe like eight to nine times a game, but we won games, which was fun. So I had to do the whole camp circuit and ended up getting my first offer from Kentucky. But going back to Mizzou, Drew Lock was the quarterback when I was getting recruited, and he was obviously on his way out, going to the NFL. So it was a great opportunity to go in there and play early. And the offensive coordinator at the time who recruited me was Derek Dooley, a lot of NFL background, and my whole dream was to get to the NFL, and I thought there was no better place to go to a coach who has coached in the NFL, runs a NFL offense, and learn an offense, learn football from an NFL guy. So that's ultimately why I chose Mizzou, and on top of that, just the city and the school was a great campus, college town. What I was looking for. So and then also playing in the SEC. I mean, wanted to play against the best competition, and certainly did that. So that was a huge part for me.
Now, in that first year, you were a redshirted freshman. Obviously, with some of the rules and stuff, you still can see some action as a redshirt freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, you did tear your ACL in that final game of the year against Arkansas, right?
Yep.
Now, getting that type of injury so early on, literally first year in college, that had to have been like a major blow. So, how did you overcome that type of situation, injury, when it happened literally year one in college?
Yeah, it was definitely tough. It was my first career start, last game of the year.
Yeah.
I was playing well, and then just non contact, trying to cut back, and it went. So it was definitely tough. And then actually the day after, the whole coaching staff got fired. So I was in a tough position where I was about to get surgery on an ACL, and we didn't have a coach. So definitely tough situation. But I think the biggest thing that got me through the whole process was just my teammates, getting a good group of guys around me that I could spend time with outside of football, and then also a good locker room to be with inside of football, and then training staff, all the above was great. But it was a hard time just because the following spring was COVID, so having to go back home for a couple weeks, not really getting the proper rehab because I'm at home, and then going back up to Mizzou. Kind of, I was the only one there, and then going in every day just to rehab as really the only one person on campus, really. So it was tough, but I've fought through a bunch of adversity, and that's made me stronger.
So I mean that's an absolute whirlwind. I mean
Yeah.
I mean not only tearing your ACL, but then the guy who recruited you, or a big part of you joining Mizzou, being gone, right? And then on top of that, so were you really the only one on campus up there whenever you'd go up there for rehab and everything?
So myself, and then we had an offensive lineman who had just gotten surgery on his back. So we were pretty much the only two there. And I mean, everything, as you remember, was shut down.
Yeah.
Nothing was open. So it was a crazy time, obviously, as everyone remembers. But just going in every day doing rehab, it was awesome just because you get the one-on-one interaction with the trainers, and uh, you get the proper rehab and recovery. So it was definitely good for my knee, but it was definitely a tough time just in terms of like COVID and being around people. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. I was there too, man. But like, no,
yeah.
like, so at that point, then, like, were you sitting there just thinking, like, dude, I don't know what's going on right now? Because obviously, you said at the beginning of all of this, it was like, hey, I want to play in the NFL, torn ACL, new coaching staff, the
Hmm.
world's shut down. Were you sitting there thinking, like, dude, I don't know what this future is going to look like now. This is so much of a big question mark right now.
Yeah, it was tough, especially with the new coaching staff. I'd learned the playbook my first year as a true freshman. Like I said, after coming from a wishbone offense, not
Right.
really doing much, and then new coaching staff have to learn a whole new offense, whole new system. Um, but at least I had time during COVID. But um, yeah, I mean, I, I I think having people around me, my family, and friends to kind of I knew I had the talent. I always believed that, and just to be able to push through it, I think has made me stronger. And I don't think I would trade that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Just because I feel like that adversity has definitely made me stronger.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, obviously, you got to it. You got to where
Yeah.
you wanted to be. You did mention teammates. Now, in 2020 and in 2021, you were the starting quarterback for Missouri. You did play with some guys that are in the NFL, Larry Roundtree, Tyler Batty, who, dude, he went off in 2021, like
Yeah.
crazy year for him. Nick Bolton was in there.
Hmm.
So do you still kind of keep in touch with those guys from your early on years in college?
A little bit. They they comment every once in a while, like on Instagram stuff, social media. Um, but I don't keep up with them a ton. I mean, I follow them and see how they're doing, but they were great teammates, great friends. Obviously, as tough as the SEC is, and how hard those games is, you got to have great camaraderie, and we definitely had that with all of my running backs that I've played with, receivers, offensive line. So yeah.
Wow. Now in 2022, you did transfer over to Indiana. Okay, I told you we'd get back to
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
They were one of the teams that did try to recruit you out of high school. So what went into that decision to transfer over from Missouri to Indiana after a couple of years?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, like I said earlier, I out of high school I committed to the coaching staff that ended up getting fired. So um, it was it wasn't when the new coaching staff came in, it wasn't necessarily the system that I thought I could develop in to be an NFL quarterback, and
Sure.
it didn't fit my skill set as much as I thought it, uh, as much as I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time the portal was just getting started, so I thought it was a good opportunity to find a new spot and really showcase what I can do with my arm talent and just playing the position of quarterback. So ended up finding Indiana, and it was a great spot. They had just previously in 2020 they were top 10 in the country, so
Yeah.
it was a great opportunity to to go there and try to get back to that level. But things didn't work out. We started off the season great, but injuries happened, and playing in the Big Ten is hard too.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell yourself short. I mean, you had some good moments in Indiana,
Yeah.
right? You had
Oh yeah.
66 pass attempts in a game. I still believe that's a school record. How are you feeling after that, by the way?
That was we were playing at Cincinnati.
Hmm.
It was a crazy game. We were on the field a lot. They scored pretty quickly every drive in the first half, and we were moving the ball kind of methodically and then kind of stalling out. But I think we ran total offensively like 115 plays.
That's
So
insane.
you see the 66 passes, but you're like, okay, that's only 50, 50% passes, 50% runs, and um, especially in a game that you're down in and you got to come back, you're going to be throwing the ball. But uh, whatever the team needs, to, whatever the team needs me to do to win, I'm going to do that. Whether it's throwing 15 passes or, like you said, 66. So it's just taking one play at a time, and yeah.
Well, I mean, so typically, like what? The average is around like what, 30 passes in a game, probably for a quarterback, maybe a little bit
Right.
less than. So you obviously did over double that. And
Yeah.
I always think it was funny, man. I think it was a clip in Chicago. Justin Fields had to ice up his shoulder. I remember when I saw the school, you had this school record. I was like, Connor must have had to have iced
Yep.
up his shoulder that day. That sounds like an
Oh,
absolute clinic.
yeah. It was that offense at Indiana. We played super up tempo. It was a lot of RPO stuff and
Hmm.
getting the ball out quick. So some of the passes were screen passes and getting the ball out quick to the receivers. But no, I definitely had to throw some ice on the shoulder after that game. Took some hits that game too, so the whole body was feeling it for sure.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm happy you're doing good now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You did have a game-winning drive against Illinois. That was a really great moment as well. I'm curious because I know, like, obviously both places you ended up transferring out of, but how would you kind of describe that time in Indiana versus Missouri? Because obviously there's different sets of challenges there in each place, right? Whereas Missouri, it's more
Right.
injury related. Indiana, like you said, just some things not necessarily going the best way there. So kind of how would you describe your time in both those places?
Yeah, I think it's different for me just in that at Mizzou I was there for 3 years, and it's you go in as a freshman, you think you're going to be there the whole time, or that's the only school that you know,
Right.
um, and you meet friends, you meet roommates, teammates, support staff that you really grow close to, and I still talk to friends to this day. Uh, my roommates back at Mizzou. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. And then Indiana, I was only there for a year, so obviously the teammates I played with there, I started to grow close to, but was only there for 11 months, so
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to really form that connection as much. But luckily, I've got one down here in Tampa from Indiana. Luke Haggard
Yeah.
is former offensive lineman at Indiana I played with, so it's nice having him down here. Good to see him, connect back with him.
Yeah. How has that process been connecting with Luke again?
It's been great. It's been great. He's a great dude, great player. We really connected well in our time at Indiana, and looking forward to continuing to have him protect for me. That's for sure.
Right on. Well, finally, you did decide to transfer again to Bowling Green to finish out your career. Before we dive into that, I got to ask again, from going from Missouri to Indiana, then over to Bowling Green, was the reasoning you felt the same from transferring from Missouri to Indiana, or was there different reasons, or just kind of explain that process?
Yeah. So after the season at Indiana, they kind of told me that they wanted to go more to like a triple option style offense, and have a running quarterback.
What you
Um,
experienced in high school?
I did. Yeah, I can do it, but that's not what I want to
You were
do.
like, I'm tired of the triple option.
Yeah. Yep. So that was pretty much the reason I ended up getting back in the portal. And then found Bowling Green. Coach Loeffler, our head coach, recruited me when I was in high school when he was the offensive coordinator at Boston College. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had that previous relationship, and ended up working out close to home, back in Ohio. So it was really a no-brainer just to have an opportunity to again learn from an NFL coach in an NFL style offense, and try to win some games, put up some numbers, and it was great.
Now, obviously, in 2023, 2024, you were the starting quarterback for Bowling Green. Obviously, you were in multiple systems for multiple colleges. Do you feel like that really helped you at the current level, being with the Bucs, just in terms of processing new offenses, getting a playbook and saying, okay, I recognize some of this from this scheme or some of this from that scheme?
Yeah, 100%. I think going into the draft process, I believed that was my biggest advantage over everybody else, was just how many different styles of offenses that I've been in, how much football I've played, and then also just the different terminology that we've used that I use compared to Bowling Green, Indiana, Mizzou. Indiana was short play calls, and like I said, we were playing up tempo. And then Bowling Green was a lot of long terminology and play calls. So having to learn stuff like that has definitely helped me out, at least so far in the first couple of weeks here.
Right. Now you did mention it, right? 2024 was awesome for you and what you're able to go out there and do. You led the MAC conference in completion percentages, passing yards. You were all MAC third team. How did it kind of come together all in that year? And you mentioned it at the start where you said, like, hey, I wanted to be in an offense to where I can show the truest version of Connor Bazelak as possible. Do you feel like that 2024 year was that year?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was my best year of football, and I think that shows that says something, that my last year is my best year. So, like you said, leading the MAC in yards and completion percentage was a lot to do with my teammates, that's for sure. But I think for me, it was just taking one play at a time, not trying to press too hard, force the ball, find completions, and keep the offense moving. That's the whole job as a quarterback, is to move the ball down the field, score points, however that might be, whether that's handing the ball off and doing your job in that terms, or making the right decision in the pass game. So obviously, I'm sure you'll get to him, but we had a great tight end, and he's obviously with the Browns now, so he was unbelievable to play with. But yeah.
Well, hey, you mentioned him. I mean, that was my next question. I had teed up you and Harold Fannin Jr. Good Lord, man. I mean, 2023, you guys had a really good chemistry. And then 2024, I mean, my God, 117 catches, 1,555 receiving yards, Connor, and 10 receiving touchdowns.
Yep.
How were you able to build such a strong chemistry to where it's like, this is my dude?
Yeah, it was really fun. Throughout my whole college career, I had never played with an NFL receiver or tight end, and
he's basically both.
He is both. He can do everything. We lined him up at fullback, tight end, receiver, quarterback. So he was really fun to play with, and I think, when you look at the stats, you're like, oh, like I'm just forcing the ball to him, trying to give him numbers. But I mean, our coaches did such a great job of scheming things up for him, and I mean, he got open. So my job, I'm going to throw it to the open guy.
Yeah.
So, and then he once you get the ball in his hands, he's unbelievable after the catch. I think that's one of his best skills. So throwing a 5-yard out route can turn into 50.
Yeah.
The way he plays, he's so powerful, great hands, sneaky athletic in terms of speed. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I think that bowl game where he had 17 catches
Hmm.
was unbelievable. Um, it was really fun to play with.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now, obviously, you haven't been with the team too long yet, but is there anybody on the Bucks where you think the same thing? Where you're like, this dude is just a spark plug type of player,
Yeah, obviously in the NFL everybody's good.
right?
So everybody can play, everybody can catch, run. Um, but I think two, the two running backs that we have, Bucky and Rashad, are really good out of the backfield catching the ball. Very similar to what I had at Mizzou with Tyler Beatty. I threw a bunch of passes to him. So those two guys, from the little time I've been here, definitely are a spark plug and catch the ball out of the backfield and turn 5 into 60 real quick.
Right on. So now, obviously, we're going to transition now. You went undrafted in that 2024 NFL draft, but going from the college to the NFL level, I'm curious, um, for your quarterback style, who are some guys that you study? Who are some guys that you look to mold your game after in terms of how you describe playing quarterback, just in terms of taking care of the football, finding the open guy, those different types of things?
Yeah, so growing up, my whole life until he stopped playing, my 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 biggest fan was, or I was a fan of Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay.
Loved the way he played, just his toughness, his poise. He wasn't the fastest guy or the quickest getting out of the pocket, but he stood in there, took hits, delivered the ball accurately, and he won games. He moved the offense. They always found ways to win games. Um, he's an Ohio guy too,
Oh
so
yeah.
um, always loved Big Ben. And then I think now like to watch a lot of Joe Burrow,
Hmm.
leading
Another
up to
another
lead, lead,
Ohio guy.
another Ohio guy leading up to the draft. So uh, I think watching guys that are similar in terms of style to me is really good. Learn a lot from them just watching film. Burrow, Herbert is another guy
Hmm.
that I think is really good. So I think just watching those types of guys definitely helps me.
Hey, shout out Big Ben. I feel like we don't
Yeah,
hear enough about Big Ben. Like severely
probably.
underrated.
He is. He's kind of. I agree with that. He's kind of been forgot about, and I know I've got a sister that lives in Pittsburgh, so
Mhm.
I visit her sometimes, and I know Pittsburgh fans don't forget about Big Ben. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean he just defined the modern era of Pittsburgh Steelers football. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Shout out Big Ben, man. Nobody know
Shout out Big Ben.
yeah,
Yep.
nobody talks about Big Ben enough. But so listen, as I said, undrafted, you decided to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How was that pre-draft process? Like you said, you knew a lot of offenses. How were those meetings and stuff? Because we've obviously seen all the films where they grill the quarterbacks, like, "Hey, draw this play. All right, now change this. Now change this." How was that process like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely something that I've never done before, obviously, and it was crazy. So I trained out in New Jersey at Test Football Academy, and with my QB coach Tony Rassiopi, he does a great job with us, getting us ready for pro day and the interview process, uh, doing stuff, uh, field work stuff, and then also stuff in the classroom, to be ready for those interviews where they might ask you questions like that. So he definitely prepared us really well, and then going into like after pro day, leading up to the draft, there was a lot of unknown just because you don't get a ton of feedback from teams. You
Hmm.
don't know like who likes you, who doesn't, but you're doing interviews and meeting with teams and talking football, talking your life, your history, and you're kind of left in the dark a little bit. Like uh, maybe they like me, maybe they
Yeah.
don't, maybe they want me, maybe who knows. So um, it was definitely crazy, and I know my parents were going crazy just because it's nothing like the college recruiting process where coaches are contacting you constantly and after you to visit and whatnot. But it's a whole different animal. But I just try to enjoy it, stay in the present, and trust that whatever happens will work out.
So I'm curious because the way you just described it, in my mind, I process as like, yeah, people forget like these are like just basically big time job interviews, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
like, would you kind of compare it to that where it's like somebody asks you like, hey, how'd it go? You met with the Broncos, and you're like, I think it went well, but I don't know. Is that kind of how you would describe it?
No, that's it. I mean, all 32 teams are their own companies and business, so they all do it differently. Um, no one interview is the same as the next, so you just got to be prepared for any question and be prepared to talk ball and teach 6-man protection to a coach.
Yeah.
One coach might ask you that, one might just ask you how your family's doing and hop off. So you really never know what you're going to get asked, but the thing is they don't really care, so you just got to be prepared for whatever.
Yeah. So like what you just said, like was that really like the distinction of like, hey, some team's gonna deep dive and the other team's just gonna say like, hey man, hope you're doing well. All right, sounds good. Like was that really like that true of a distinction for some of those?
Yeah. So one team I was watching some of my film from previous years, and he was having me go through certain plays and talk it out, kind of teach them a little bit of our offense, um, and then whereas another team I talked to was kind of just catching up, seeing how my family was doing, uh, talking a little bit about my past, and then that's really it. So
Yeah.
um, you really never know what teams are going to ask, and I think for me, for how much football I've played, I think a lot of teams kind of knew me
Mm-hmm.
and knew that I was smart, that I could handle an NFL style offense, pick up the offense quickly, be a good locker room guy. So some of them were short, maybe just because of that. But like I said, you didn't get much feedback.
That's got to be kind of jarring, in my opinion, right? Of just like you might be coming away from that being like, what just happened,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
My goodness. So you did end up deciding to join the Bucs. What went into that decision? Was that something where you had a lot of dialogue with the Bucs leading up to the draft? Did you do a lot of, or did you know a lot about the Bucs before joining? Just kind of explain what went into that decision.
Yeah, I think leading up to the draft, my family and my agent, we kind of had the whole QB depth chart and who was where,
Mm-hmm.
who needed a quarterback, and who already had four, who had three, who needed another one. And then obviously going through the draft where teams drafted a quarterback, okay, that's probably not a good spot. So um, I didn't I didn't think I didn't think the Bucs. Um, Obviously they had three, but I didn't know that was a possible destination until I think it was like the fifth round. Um, they wanted to get a deal done, and um, some of the other teams that I was kind of talking to wanted to wait around. So
Wow.
um, it was a no brainer for me. Just same situation as some of the other teams I was talking to. So no brainer to get it done and get going. So I hadn't researched much about the Bucs, but um, it's been great so far. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, how did that feel like knowing that hey, we're reaching out just to let you know like if you do not get drafted here, we want you as early as the 5th round. Like that's very early to be doing work like that. So I mean, I imagine that had to be like, wow, this team really wants me type of feeling.
Yeah, definitely. That's I think going back to like the recruiting process in college is like where do you feel like you're the most wanted?
Yeah.
And I think I mean that can be true for any job. Is does this team really want me? Do they like me, or are they just bringing me in just to be an arm? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was big that they reached out and wanted to get something done done earlier than rather earlier than later, just to kind of take me off the board and not let other teams get me. So it was great. I thought it was a no brainer just to get going and not wait around for another team.
Yeah, like in my mind, it's like, oh wow, it's basically like they said, like, hey, we're basically gonna, it's almost like getting another draft pick, right? Like since they
Yeah,
reached out so early. So that yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
yeah,
Matter of fact.
yep. It
Um,
was awesome.
so you had rookie mini camp recently over the past couple. I think it was 2 weekends ago, I believe. Um,
Last weekend, yep.
yeah. So how was that? What were some of your biggest takeaways that you learned from those first few NFL practices? Of course, besides the Florida heat and humidity.
Yeah, it was really cool. Just having to come in and learn the first couple installs of their offense and
Mhm.
be able to quickly turn that around, study at night, and turn around the next day and perform on the field was definitely cool. It was tough, but I think getting to know some of the other guys, obviously having Emeka and Tez as receivers out there doesn't hurt at all. They're great players, so um, learning those guys, how they run routes, getting the timing down a little bit with them um, was really good. So I thought rookie minicamp went well. Just trying to learn the offense, make great decisions, take care of the football, and yeah, it was awesome.
So I have a couple follow up questions for that. First, have you seen the clips of you throwing a couple of passes? Like it's like the slow mo stuff to Emeka and
Yeah,
Tez.
yeah,
So I was sitting there, and I knew our interview was coming up, and everybody was highlighting, Tez and Emeka, and I was like, hey, Connor's throwing dots out here. Connor's throwing some dots out here. So I was excited to see that because I was like, oh, how was it throwing to those guys, Emeka and Tez? Like obviously, both those guys, two very different types of players in some ways, right? Like Tez is a
right.
bit more of just this. Smaller kind of offensive weapon. You can throw a lot of different places. A Mecca, that obviously kind of crispy route runner type of guy. So how was it thrown to both those guys?
Yeah, they're both like you said. They both do things differently, but they both do what they're good at really well. And Tez runs great routes. Is super twitchy. I feel like you can get the ball in his hands and he can get yards after the catch just using his speed. He gets open, and then Emeka, kind of the same way. He's put him in the slot, and he finds ways to get open, finds green grass. It's really smart, runs great routes. So both those guys have been awesome to throw to. And like I said earlier, I'd never really thrown besides Harold to an NFL guy in my college career. So getting into an NFL building has definitely been a lot of fun being able to throw to those guys and show kind of makes me look good.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. Well, another thing you just mentioned too, in terms of like doing your job as a quarterback, you mentioned it earlier, right? And looking good and stuff like this. This is a offensive scheme that I would say is pretty quarterback friendly, just in terms of
Mhm.
helping out the quarterback. You talked about, hey, like doing your job, taking care of the football, throwing to the guy that's open. This more West Coast style of offense kind of excels in that type of role, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, how has it been kind of installing in that offense? Had you had familiarity in this offense before at college, or is it you coming in, you're like, hey, this is great?
Right. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that we're doing is similar to what we did at Bowling Green,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of the terminology, the length of the play calls. I think the biggest thing kind of in rookie minicamp that was an adjustment was calling plays in a huddle. Just because college you get signals from the sideline and you don't really have to call a full play, but being able to get the call from the coach and call it in the huddle with how long the play calls are was definitely an adjustment. But I think having that experience with those types of play calls at Bowling Green definitely helped. Um, but this offense, like you said, is definitely quarterback friendly, and I think you're never going to get in a bad play. We've got checks and stuff that that you're always going to get in a good play against a certain coverage or pressure. So just picking it up, learning it has been really fun. Studying, it's football at the end of the day. So like you said, making good decisions, being accurate with the football, commanding the offense is football at the end of the day as a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, Connor, hey, listen, we've been through a lot today. I thank you for, not just explaining to me, but also my subscribers as well, just your journey, all the different highs and lows that you've been through so far. I always ask every guy this. What should Bucs fans expect from Connor Bazelak this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just every single day I'm gonna come in, go into work and work my butt off to help obviously Baker as the starter and whatever I can do to help the team win. Whether that's watching extra film, uh, doing cut ups, whatever for Baker so he can be successful. Or if there were injuries that were to happen, being ready to play whenever my number is called. So I think just I'm going to be a great locker room guy. Get to know everybody, build connections with everyone, and whatever I can do to help the team win, that's what I'm going to do.
Right on. Well, Connor, thank you so much for being on, sir. Greatly appreciated. Everybody
I
watching
appreciate
this,
you.
of course. And to everybody watching this video, thank you guys so much for watching. What did you guys think about everything that me and Connor talked about? Let us know your thoughts and opinions about it down in the comments section below. Connor, where can the people find you out there on the social medias?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Connor Bazelak, just my first name, last name. My Twitter is at Bazelak Connor, so my last name first, and then my first name. That's really it. All I have is Instagram, Twitter. So feel free to DM me. I'll get back with you. Yeah.
Right on. Sounds good. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, guys, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.